News tonight: a man has died after a shooting near Midland, just Midland, just north of Lawrence. We're about to get an update right now from Monica Hudden from the SIU. Let's listen in right now.
The Special Investigations Unit is investigating the circumstances surrounding the shooting death of a 21-year-old man tonight in Scarborough. The preliminary information suggests that in the evening hours, Toronto Police Service officers were investigating the driver of a vehicle. At approximately 8 p.m. in the area of Midwest and Midland, officers attempted to stop the vehicle. The vehicle moved forward and struck a police officer. Another police officer then discharged his firearm at the vehicle multiple times. The man was struck. The man was transported to hospital where he was pronounced dead. The police officer who was struck by the vehicle was also taken to hospital for unknown injuries. At this point in time, the SIU has 5 investigators and 3 forensic investigators assigned to the case. We are asking anyone who has any information regarding this incident to contact us at 1-800-787-8529. If there is anyone with any video evidence of what transpired, we would appreciate getting that as well.
Is there any indication what led to this incident?
All I can tell you at this point in time is that police officers were investigating the driver of this vehicle, and then in the area of Midwest and Midland, they decided to stop the vehicle. As to what transpired and what happened before and during, that is part of the SIU's investigation. I can't answer that. That would be a question for the Toronto Police Service. All I know at this point in time is that the man is 21 years old, and that's all I have right now.
Would you say that this was a vehicle pursuit or was it a traffic stop?
Understanding what exactly transpired is what the SIU will try to determine to answer. What I can tell you is that they were trying to stop the vehicle at this intersection.
Was he alone? Was there other people in the vehicle?
My understanding is that we have the driver and there were 3 other individuals in the vehicle with him.
Okay, that was a live update from Monica Hutton from the SIU, letting us know some details about a shooting that took place about 8 o'clock tonight. Police pulling over a man near Midland and Midway, just north of Lawrence. The driver of the car ran over a police officer. Another officer opened fire. The man was taken to hospital where he died. We don't know the status of the injuries to the police officer at this point. That update live right now taking place near Midland and Ellesmere from the SIU. In other news, police are investigating a brawl that broke out at the Eaton Centre this weekend during Pride's Dyke March on Saturday. Members of the alt-right group, the Yellow Vest Movement, and a group of counter-protesters were at the parade, but they followed each other inside the mall, and that's where the violence erupted. Ali Chasson picks up the story from there.
This was Saturday at the Eaton Centre downtown. The video was shot by far-right activist group, the Yellow Vest Movement. In the middle of the crowded mall, people in Canadian Nationalist Party t-shirts brawling with counter-protesters.
They're still following us, folks.
This all happening at the same time Pride events are in full swing nearby.
Allies and people inside this community started writing us and sending us screenshots of people planning clearly to disrupt each of these marches and then the parade.
The Toronto police increased security for Pride events this weekend because anti-LGBT protests had popped up during Hamilton's Pride.
If we don't start to, more importantly, understand that when it comes to protecting people that are the victims of this kind of hatred, it has to be a priority.
It's old-fashioned, nationalism, xenophobia, and hate.
Jessica Green is an expert in social movements.
All of these groups are kind of fluid. They're finding their identities. They're pulled from a lot of different places, and they're looking for some outlet where they can voice their opinions.
That's often on social media. The fight video has been viewed over 80,000 times.
They're very fluid movements. People move in and out. And they don't necessarily have one single message. And that's part of their strength, right? That there's a lot of people involved.
The video doesn't show which group hit first, but it points the finger at the anti-fascist or Antifa members.
There is some tradition of Antifa showing up and being completely peaceful and then getting antagonized either by more violent right-wing types or sometimes being restrained by The police has been the case in the United States. Again, it depends on who you ask.
As we alluded to in this story, it's not uncommon for these groups to clash, but usually it's contained to the public square where the demonstration is happening. The reason why this one is getting so much attention is because it happened at the very crowded Eaton Centre, making for a very scary Saturday for a lot of people. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Premier Doug Ford is facing new allegations of favoritism in his government. Another appointment with links to Ford's former Chief of Staff, Dean French, has resigned. It emerged today that Cabinet appointed French's niece, Catherine Powell, to Ontario's Public Accountants Council back in December. Powell resigned this afternoon after the NDP revealed her links to French. Now, the post was not particularly lucrative. The council meets just 4 times a year, and it pays its appointees several $100s a meeting. But a government source tells CBC News that Ford, quote, hit the roof today when the connection to French emerged, saying it makes Ford look like he doesn't know what's going on in his office. French himself resigned late Friday as Ford's chief of staff after the premier rescinded the appointments of 2 other people with reported personal ties to French. A fertility doctor can no longer practice medicine after Ontario's medical regulator determined he used his own sperm to inseminate patients. More than a dozen patients telling a disciplinary hearing they suffered irreparable harm because of Dr. Bernard Barwin's actions. Talia Ricci spoke with one woman who found out 3 years ago that Barwin was her biological father.
I feel like I'm the evidence and the consequence, and I mean, obviously physically I look like Dr. Barwin, and so that kind of makes it real to people.
Rebecca Dixon says her parents sat her down 3 years ago to tell her that her father was not her biological parent. She describes how she felt when she discovered that Dr. Barwin was.
In some ways it explains certain things, like the fact I'd never looked like my parents, but it was a huge shock and a huge burden for me to carry.
Emotional victim impact statements were shared at today's hearing. Families affected described feeling violated and having emotional breakdowns. Barwin did not attend the hearing, but through his lawyer pleaded no contest to the allegations of professional misconduct, incompetence, and failing to maintain the standard of practice of the profession. The college says he should have been there.
In my view, that shows that he continues to fail to take responsibility for his actions. The repercussions to these patients and their families is going to continue in perpetuity.
Barwin, who's now 80 years old, was also ordered to pay a fine of $10,370, the cost of the hearing. Barwin had previously been disciplined for artificially inseminating several women with the wrong sperm, admitting to professional misconduct when he appeared before a committee in 2013. He was suspended but resigned a year later.
The revocation of Dr. Barwin's certificate of registration means he can never practice here or anywhere else again. It is a public finding, so if he did apply to practice in another jurisdiction, there would be a record of his conduct.
Dixon says she tries to remain positive, but still keeps an eye out for people who look like her in Ottawa, who could be one of her half-siblings.
There's never any going back from this. It's changed my life forever.
Barwin is also facing a potential class action lawsuit launched by several of his patients. It alleges that more than 50 children were conceived after their mothers were inseminated with the wrong sperm, 11 with Barwin's. The class action has yet to be certified. None of these allegations have been proven in court. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
Colette Kennedy is here with her first look at the forecast. Slight chance of rain overnight, but nice warm up on the way.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be getting warmer and also more humid, but overnight tonight, kind of a repeat of the whole setup and situation from last night. So it's very highly localized, but a few areas with some pretty heavy downpours as a few cells kind of pop up and move through in the overnight hours. Should have cleared out by tomorrow morning's commute, but that humidity building, so the temperature's going up, and let me show you what it's going to feel like, and then getting into a nice clearing trend with even more more sunshine that we'll see into Thursday than we'll even have for tomorrow. So the risk through the overnight hours, not going to be seeing much, but just a few pockets. And also a chance tomorrow afternoon, but a pretty slim chance of seeing a few isolated showers. I think they'll primarily actually be to the east of the GTA, so that we will have some sunshine, but a few clouds out there as well. 17 the overnight low, that temperature running about 3 degrees above seasonal, 3 to 4 for our highs in terms of 28, but getting even warmer from there. It'll already be feeling like 32 tomorrow afternoon. Wait till I show you what it's going to feel like as we get towards Thursday. That's all coming up, Mike.
Okay, thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
The way basketball is growing just around the world, we saw the following. I do think that we're lucky in a place like Canada that there's room for baseball, there's room for basketball, there's room for hockey.
But the Toronto Raptors president says basketball may be on the verge of becoming the top sport in Toronto and the country. Coming up, we'll tell you what else Masai Ujiri had to say about the future of the Raptors, Kawhi Leonard, and his run-in with security in Oakland. That's after the break. Let's go back to our top story now. A man has died tonight after a shooting near Midland and Ellesmere. Now, the incident also sending a police officer to hospital. Our Taylor Simmons joins us now live with the latest. So, Taylor, we just got an update from the SIU.
Yeah, that's right, Mike. So it's still, a lot of stuff is still unclear because this happened only just a few hours ago, but you're right, we did just hear from the SIU and they provided some clarity. So what we know is that around 8 p.m. this evening, there was an incident here at Midland and Midwest. So we know that the Guns and Gangs unit was tailing a car for an unknown reason. They were trying to pull this suspect over. And when they did, the car charged at a police officer, so that's who's injured tonight. Another officer fired at the person in the car. He was taken to hospital, but he was pronounced dead. We know this victim was 21 years old. We know there were 3 other people in the car with him, but the other circumstances around that are still unclear. The SIU is investigating. They're called in anytime an incident involves a police officer and there is a death, serious injury, or allegations of sexual assault. So the SIU truck only arrived on scene here about 45 minutes ago, so their investigation has just begun. This intersection will be closed for the foreseeable future as they continue, so still a lot to learn, Mike.
Okay, Taylor Simmons joining us live with an update tonight. Thank you, Taylor. Well, guilty finding today in the case of a man sometimes referred to as Toronto's professional tenant. James Regan was convicted on 3 counts of fraud over $5,000 after not paying rent at 3 high-end addresses ever since 2014. Regan was notorious for impressing landlords with expensive clothes and professional demeanor and then refusing to pay when the rent was due. Police charged him 2 years ago after complaints from several property owners. Well, sentence handed down today for 3 members of a York Region family involved in the deaths of 2 horses and the mistreatment of 14 others, as well as a pony. Victoria Small, her husband David, and their son Jason will serve 45 days in jail. They pleaded guilty to permitting an animal to be in distress in March. The family owned a horse boarding business and had been renting a 10-acre farm and barnyard. That's where the abuse occurred. In addition to the 2 deaths, the remains of 13 other horses were found on the property, but a vet could not determine exactly when those animals died. The owner of the property says the punishment is not enough.
Where's the justice? Where's the justice for these animals? Where's the justice for the community? Where's the justice for society, period? Because these people deserve a lot more than just 45 damn days in jail.
The Smalls have to turn themselves in on July 19th to begin serving their sentences. They also have to pay $1,000 each and are banned for life from owning livestock. Well, Raptors president Masai Ujiri confirms he is staying put with the club. He spoke with reporters today for the first time since the Raptors won the NBA championship, and he says he is hoping to convince Kawhi Leonard to re-sign with the team. As Greg Ross tells us, questions about Leonard's future has both Ujiri and the team in a bit of a holding pattern.
We'll wait. He's our player, and he's a superstar on our team in the league, and we'll continue to wait on that.
At his year-end press conference, Masai Ujiri said re-signing Kawhi Leonard remains the team's top priority, and Ujiri remains confident the Raptors' championship run has made them the front-runner in the Kawhi sweepstakes.
He's going to consider that. He played here. I think he had a great experience here, and he won a championship here.
I think there's 50 million reasons on a championship why he would. So.
Toronto Star Raptors reporter Doug Smith says the team has a number of advantages, including the fact they can offer Leonard a contract worth $50 million more than any other team. He says they also did a great job of earning Leonard's trust, especially considering he was coming off a difficult year, recovering from a leg injury that many accused him of embellishing.
They gave Kawhi his career back with their care and the way they treated him and the way they brought him along slowly. You know, they resurrected his career. So there's a mutual trust there.
Fans are mixed about the possibility of Leonard returning.
I don't know. I feel like he's going to stay, you know.
I personally think he's going to go.
I think he'll resign. I do.
Other teams are vying for his services as well. This billboard appeared in the Los Angeles area this week, encouraging Leonard to sign with the Clippers. The New York Knicks are also believed to be preparing an offer. Neither team can compete with the loyal following he's developed in Toronto.
Women love him, men love him, dogs love him. Like, he's just one of those guys.
And fans have been showing their love.
MVP! MVP!
Leonard was surrounded by fans last week on a family trip to Niagara Falls.
And looky here, Mr. Martinez, the NBA Finals MVP is in the house.
And he was given a standing ovation at a Jays game. Some have suggested it may be encroaching on Leonard's privacy.
Sometimes you want your private space, you know, and that's understandable with everybody in life. But I know he does understand. He doesn't complain, you know, but I do think people should respect a person's space.
And that's exactly what Ujiri says he will be doing as Leonard mulls over his options in the coming days.
Kawhi is his own man, you know, he's shown us that since he came here, and he's a confident human being. We will respect his decision.
NBA free agency begins on June 30th. Teams can start signing players on July 6th. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Hyde Park was briefly evacuated by police this afternoon. Officers were searching for a man who had been spotted running into the woods with what appeared to be a black handgun. That man is now in custody, but police haven't said if he'll be charged or if he did actually have a handgun.
Now here's Wickenheiser with the shot. Wickenheiser scores!
Haley Wickenheiser leads the pack for this year's inductees into the Hockey Hall of Fame. We'll tell you who else will be joining her when we come back.
The weather update is brought to you by Train Extreme Conditions Testing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
The Yankees setting a new baseball record at the Blue Jays' expense tonight. Leadoff hitter DJ LeMahieu takes Clayton Richard deep in the bottom of the first. Now with that, the Yankees set the record for most consecutive games with a home run, 28. That surpasses the 2002 Texas Rangers. Now they actually hit 4 solo home runs tonight, including this insurance run by former Jay Edwin Encarnacion. Still not used to seeing the Ed Wing in Yankees pinstripes. New York wins 4-3.
Wickenheiser, breakaway, shoots, scores!
And Team Canada legend Hayley Wickenheiser leads the 2019 inductees into the Hockey Hall of Fame, getting the nod in her first year of eligibility. No surprise there. The 4-time Olympic gold medalist played with Team Canada for over 23 years and even twice played professional men's hockey in Europe. She's currently the Leafs Assistant Director of Player Development. Now joining her will be 2-time Stanley Cup champion Guy Carbonneau. He was captain when the Habs won in '93, the last Canadian team to win the Cup. And Jim Rutherford, the former Red Wing, will enter the Hall in the Builders category. He was the general manager of the Hurricanes, won the Cup in 2002, and then back-to-back wins right here with the Penguins as its GM. Colette is back with her extended forecast, and it's got the 2 H's in it, heat and humidity.
Yes, those are both coming at us, and eventually we may get to the third H, which is haziness. That often comes with these kinds of conditions. But for now, we'll deal with a couple of the H's. And, you know, I have to tell you, we're going to be seeing that temperature getting warmer and warmer the next few days here, but probably not into record territory. 36.7 degrees for this date in history, back in 1952, so that's a long-standing one. But in terms of our humidex, how it's going to feel as we get towards Thursday, we're going to be pretty close to that as they go towards the mid-30s in terms of the feel. Precipitation outlook tonight, again, we talked about earlier in the show, some of these isolated cells popping up tonight. Really hard to pinpoint where, probably kind of similar to last night. And of course, unfortunately, we had some locally very heavy downpours and some flooding towards Lakeshore. That moves through, clears out for tomorrow morning. We will have some cloud in there with our sunshine, but the risk into the afternoon hours tomorrow of a few more scattered showers, mostly though that should be east of us towards the GTA if you're going to be traveling in that direction towards Kingston or towards the Ottawa Valley. And then things looking really good into Thursday. Quite a bit of sunshine anticipated until we get late Thursday towards Friday. And that's when we get back into an increased chance of getting some wet conditions coming back at us. But it's not going to be the kind of thing where our whole holiday weekend is going to be impacted from it, okay? Overnight tonight for southwestern Ontario, some spotty showers again. Few areas seeing some heavier downpours coming from these and some gustier winds as they move through, but it's not everywhere. The risk into tomorrow afternoon as well, and check out these temperatures, feeling 33, the thermometer hitting 30 degrees. Into the GTA, there you go, 17, 18 degrees for overnight lows. Again, running above seasonal, and same thing with our daytime highs, which is kind of nice to see when we are headed towards this holiday weekend. But that humidity building for the next couple of days. So it comes up a little bit towards tomorrow, feeling like the low 30s. What's important to note, especially if you're someone who has any breathing conditions or issues like that, is to note that on Thursday it gets a little more difficult because 29, maybe even 30 degrees for the high for the first time. It would be for this year, but feeling like 35 to 36. That will be the humidex. Then that greater chance of seeing some showers kind of off and on through the day on Friday. There's a risk late on Saturday as well, but primarily you're going to see that the weekend is looking pretty good. A little drier the air into Sunday, Mike.
Okay, thanks a lot, Colette.
You're welcome.
Well, that is Raptors' Kyle Lowry making the cover of Sports Illustrated. This issue will be on shelves July 1st. In it, Lowry talks about his journey from the blacktop courts in North Philly to becoming Mr. Raptor. He also shares his thoughts on the championship season and what he and the team had to overcome to get the Larry O'Brien Trophy. Stay with us. We're back after this break. Well, a big night for Toronto theatre with the annual Dora Awards being handed out. A couple of musicals, big winners tonight. Soul Pepper's production of Rose won Outstanding New Musical, Outstanding Performance by Peter Fernandez, and a number of technical awards. Mirvish's Next to Normal taking home Outstanding Production, Audience Choice, and Outstanding Performance Award for Ma Anjonicio there. And the Canadian Opera Company took home a number of awards for Eugene Onegin, including Outstanding Direction and Outstanding Production. You can catch a summary of all the winners and a discussion of the state of Canadian theatre tomorrow on Q. That's at 10 a.m. on CBC Radio 1. I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Good night.